To order the December 11th, 2019 regular Morton Pa Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We have a roll call, please.
Mario Cimino.
Here.
Michelle Miller. Here. Michelle Roberts.
Present.
Robert Graff.
Here.
John Miller.
Here.
Charlie Lillicrap.
Here.
Tom Satmayer.
Present.
Also present, Sister Ewald, Christina, Sergeant Rothstein, Engineer Catania, Morton Rutledge Fire Company, Jack Breslin.
Thank you. We will start with general council comments, and I'll start with Mr. Lillicrap.
No comment.
Mrs. Miller.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. McGrath.
Nothing to say.
Mrs. Roberts.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Okay, this time, Mr. Miller.
Nothing.
And Mayor Al.
I have plenty to say tonight. All these people are here not just to see what's going on with council, but here to honor Mario Cimino for 12 years of dedicated service to the borough. And to kick things off, I'd like to ask Senator Tim Terry to come forward and make a presentation to Mario.
Thank you, Mayor. So for a long time, I was the mayor in Swarthmore, which is right next door kind of thing. And Mario was the person I associated most with Morton. We used to call him Mr. Morton, especially when he wore the top hat. So it's good stuff. So it's my pleasure to be here today and to present a certificate of recognition to Mario on behalf of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Senate in particular. I see Jen's here, so she'll probably be close to that. But the certificate of recognition, suitable for framing, so of course we need to state we can take it for framing. Congratulations. And thank you for all
Will
your
you
service.
step down front?
Thank you.
Okay, and at this time, I will ask State Representative Jen O'Mara to make a presentation also to Mario.
So I have a citation to offer to Mario from the state as well, and I would just like to read it. Whereas Mario Cimino has selflessly dedicated his time to his community and pledged his services to that of others. Whereas his commitment to the Borough of Morton has spanned 12 years of service on the Borough Council and 8 years as Council President. Whereas Mario is a devoted environmentalist who has spent a great portion of his life educating residents of his community in sound conservation practices, including me. Whereas, as a result of Mario's leadership, his legacy is exemplified by the rain garden located at Morton Borough Hall. Now therefore be it resolved, it is with great appreciation for dedicated and steadfast hard work that the Pennsylvania House of Representatives salutes the exemplary leadership, dedication, and hard work that Mario has displayed and offers best wishes and continued success to him in his pursuit to improve his community. So if you're on 25 years, I will be able to get you up. Come back and do 12 more.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Mario, if you can stay right there. Our finest here in Morton would like to present an award to Mario also. The chief and the sergeant will make that presentation.
Presenting this plaque to Mario for his work with the police department, his dedication from 2008 till today, being his last meeting, and we appreciate all he's done for us and working with us side by side.
Mario has been council member for 12 years. Great person in the community. We're really going to miss him. Hope you don't go too far. Started with Mario, I remember he was doing the train shelter. He rehabbed the train shelter. He's very instrumental in that. He's working very hard with the police department, and we're really going to miss him, but stay close by. I will.
Stand in the front tonight.
Yeah, just one more award right now, and then it'll be a little later, okay? But this is the Appreciation Award for Morton Borough, presented to Mario Cimino on behalf of our citizens for his years of service and care from the Office of the Mayor, today, December 11, 2019. Thank you, Mayor. Now I will turn the meeting back over to Mario Pan.
One more time. I'm going to reserve I have some remarks, but I'm going to reserve them till new business at the end of the meeting. So that will take us to public comment on agenda items. If anybody would like to comment on items that are on the agenda, you can approach the podium now. If you would like to take up any other business before council, we will hear that during the open discussion period later in the meeting. So seeing no one at this time, I will go on to item number 5, and I will promptly turn it back to Mayor App for the swearing in of our new police officer.
Thank you, Mario. I'm so excited, and I'm sure Trevor and Mom are also. If I could have Trevor come forward.
Just briefly, I want to give you a little bit of information about Trevor. We recruited him from another police department in Montgomery County. He's a Morton area resident, and he graduated from the Delaware County Police Academy in 2018. So we look forward to him coming aboard.
Give you this. Raise your right hand.
Where do I get their pictures?
Okay. And just repeat this. I, Trevor Johnston,
I, Trevor Johnston,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
His mother's going to pin his badge on him, ceremonial.
Just like a nappy pin.
That's actually the quickest I've ever seen it been done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I believe, are you also going to introduce the next item? Invitation.
Yes. So, over the past year and a half, Jennifer O'Mara, has been working with the chief and has gotten us some money from the state, $60,000, to make physical improvements to our police department, which hasn't been renovated since the mid-1990s, I believe, Chief?
That's correct.
Yeah. And we have the money securely in our account, but tonight we wanted to have the opportunity for Jen to bring this giant check up here so we, and the chief and the sergeant, if he's still available, can come on up. Chief, if you can come up. Jennifer here.
So I would like to share a little bit about the story behind getting this grant. So I've been in office now for a year, and I met with Chief Cimino pretty early on to my tenure, and I went on a tour of the police station. And he showed me the police station, and then he showed me a picture of Joe Laspina III, who is now an officer for Morton, sitting in an area of the police station that looked exactly the same, but the difference was Joe was 3 years old. And we needed to do something. And so when I got word that I had my first grant to award in my district, the first person and thing I thought of was the Morton Police Station. But I also want to publicly thank Chief Laspina. A couple of weeks ago, we had an irate constituent at our office. It was the second time he was scheduled to come in. We knew it wasn't going to go well. And Chief Laspina came in to pick out his check at the same time that that meeting was set up. And it took about all of 30 seconds before he had to interfere and call 911. And we had to have 11 police officers report to our office. But Chief Laspina made sure he was there, and he did not leave my staff the entire time. And we are in so much, we have so much gratitude for what you provide for our office. And we're not in Morton, but he still makes sure that he's a Springfield resident and a Morton police chief and takes care of the state rep and the staff. So I just want to thank everyone in Morton, especially the police department, for all they're doing, not only for us, but for everyone here in Morton Borough. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
With this check that you picked out. And he didn't pick out the same one we typically go with, so we were excited about that. Where's Joe?
Rusty, this way.
Ian. Thank you very much. Thanks.
I'd like to thank Jen and her staff for everything that she does for the police department, everything she does for the community, everything she does for Morton Borough. She's phenomenal, and we're so lucky to have her, and she's here for a long time.
Mario, I hand back the meeting to you.
Okay. All right, next item, number 7, is approval of the monthly meeting minutes. Everybody should have received a copy of those minutes. Are there any questions or corrections regarding the minutes?
Yes,
Mrs.
I
Robbins.
have on the regular council meeting for November 13th, I just noticed that I am not in attendance, and yet I made several comments.
Any other comments, corrections? All right, hearing none, with that correction, does somebody wish to make a motion to adopt those minutes?
So moved.
Motion seconded. Any comment on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any noes? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8, approval of the monthly bills. Everybody should be in receipt of a copy of the monthly bill list. Are there any questions on the monthly bill list before we entertain a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the monthly bill list?
Second.
All right, motion been made and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, we have a roll call, please.
Mario Cimino,
Yes.
Michelle Miller,
Yes.
Michelle Roberts,
Yes,
Bob McGrath.
Yes.
John Miller.
Yes.
Charles Oakhurst.
Yes. Motion carries, thank you. We will now go on to our committee reports. We'll start with public facilities and infrastructure. Mrs. Miller, please.
Good evening, y'all. Just like to say that we have the building inspector's report for November of 2019 for 11 building permits were issued, 2 use and occupancy certificates were issued by contractors. So this time of year, we're still doing improvements, whatever on their properties. And then secondly, we have an update on the bids for the community development block grant, CDBG grant, that we've been given, where we've had a bid before, we took it in the second one because it was, the numbers were, it wasn't quite set up right with the bids. So the second bid came in, it was opened yesterday. I'm going to ask Mr. Tanya to maybe lightly explain to us, and I have some things I can pass out to council here explaining that.
We opened it opening yesterday for the community center renovations, and if you recall, we had to try to split it into two parts. The first part would be the bathroom renovations, the second part would be the gymnasium heating and air conditioning renovations. We had one bid, it was split into 4 separate contracts as required by the law. We had a general construction contractor, plumbing, mechanical, and electrical. And there's a summation of those low bidders in the letter that Ms. Miller's going to hand out. Summarizing everything, the bathroom renovation is going to end up costing us about $165,956, and the gymnasium heating and air conditioning is $182,241. That would be the total for those pieces. The grant that we received from the county was in the amount of $127,000 and some change for the project. We did have a conversation last month with the County Office of Housing and Community Development indicating the availability of additional funds, and it appears that there are some additional funds available for this project if council so chooses to request those. So we have a couple options that we can do. We had a conversation with the Office of Housing and Community Development again today, and they can increase the fund allocation to $158,700 almost immediately without a lot of trouble. If we decide to do the bathroom renovations, that would leave us about $7,200 short of funding that project. If we want to do the air conditioning, heating in the gym, that leaves us another, say $17,000 short, about $24,000 short. Our second option would be to, under the grant, it would allow us to petition county council for an increase in funding. The office can administratively increase the grant by up to 25%, which gets us that $158,700 that we had mentioned earlier. If we want to go higher than 25%, we would have to petition county council for those additional funds, which would take, I think we talked about this before, new council, the current council wouldn't take any action. We don't expect them to take any action. The new council would take seat in January. There'd be a 30-day comment period, so we wouldn't see that money until at least March, if in fact they approved it. So I think that's the summary of it, and the council can decide what they want to do. We do have some time to hold these bids, but I just want to get you the information so that you can make a decision.
So with that information, thank you, Charles. With that information given out, we can discuss this in more detail next month, but I think it sort of gives us an idea of how we need to go forward, so that we're still looking for the spring to do anything, including the bathroom. So if I kind of look at this, we'll discuss it in January. It's my recommendation.
Well, I just want to ask Mr. Tanya about the HVAC renovations, because that number is kind of amazing. What kind of system are we quoting here for the HVAC, and it's just a gym, right?
It's just a gym. Yep.
I mean, you could almost build a house for that.
Same for the bathroom. I'd love to have that kind of money for 2 bathrooms in my house.
Well, yeah, but the bathrooms, we've got to go outside the envelope of the building and put in new footings and things like that. I mean, I can see where that's adding up, but what type of system are they quoting for $182,000 on the HVAC?
It's 4 rooftop mounted units. is what that price is.
Mhm.
We did have an alternate to put a single ground mounted unit, and that was an additional, depending upon which bid we took, that was an additional $30-some thousand for a single ground unit.
It costs more to put it on the ground than on the
It's
roof?
a larger unit,
Oh, okay.
larger ductwork, there's all the accessories, a larger electrical service. The unfortunate part, when we know we bid this actually be the third time we bid this project, and if you really want to go back in history, we bid this same project probably 8 years ago, and it came in about that $127,000 that we asked the grant amount for. The first bids were high, that's why we rebid. The second bid was that we had some administrative issues with that, clerical issues with that, so we rebid it the third time. It's an unfortunate, or a fortunate, depends on the way you look at it, is there's a lot of work out there right now.
And it was the same type of system 8 years ago?
Yes.
Air conditioning?
Yep, and to be honest with you, it's that design with there's some upgrades to meet the new code. So in 8 years, it went up to, what's that, $55,000 in that range?
Amazing. Are there any more comments on this particular item? Any questions? If not, then I'm done with my committee's report, Mr. Cimino.
All right, thank you. Finance Administration, Mr. Lillicrest.
Total real estate taxes collected year-to-date, including current, delinquent, and interim, is $1,425,926. And sewer fees year-to-date are $549,822.51. And about 80% of the amount billed. Prior year, $38,089, that's about 122% of what was budgeted, and the delinquent is $55,483.19, which is about 168% of what was budgeted. Trash collections, year-to-date, $163,011.94. It's 96%, almost 97% of the amount billed. Trash collections, prior years, $75,32.90, with 100% of the billing. Delinquent today, $22,697.69, with about 183% of the amount budgeted. Okay, next item 3, more motion to approve solicitation. Now, it's my understanding you're not voting on them tonight. You're just going to be review what you have in your file, and you'll be voting on them next month. Is that right?
No, actually in the budget meeting.
And the budget
So later
meeting,
this
I'm
month.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, wait, do we need a motion to solicit or not?
No. That's what I warned Mr. Lillicrest, because the idea is that won't be until our regular budget meeting. So we'll do that action as part of the budget meeting for accepting the tax
No,
incentive.
this was a motion to solicit.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. That's what I'm saying. That shouldn't be there. All
Yeah,
it was
that's-
just a presentation of the 2 bids that we received.
You have them in-house, right?
What's that?
You have them in-house for review, right?
In fact, everybody's got a copy. in front of
Solicitation,
them.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it just
Yeah, that was just, yeah.
shouldn't have been put in there, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lillicrest?
Okay, make a motion to approve the meeting schedule for the year of 2020. Any questions?
All right, is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any questions on the motion?
No change from last year, right?
I think it's exactly the same.
Same.
I mean, the one comment I had is that, under the way this is written, it may be interpreted that you won't vote at any agenda meetings. So if you intend or want to vote at an agenda meeting, or have the opportunity to, then language should be added to clarify that. You don't have to. You can only vote at legislative meetings if that's your prerogative.
I would suggest council probably would want to leave that flexibility open.
So it would not be voted till the first real meeting, not the reorganization meeting?
Yeah, you can do it right now.
Or we can do it right now.
No, the question is, do you want to memorialize council's authority to vote at agenda meetings in this schedule, in this motion?
For the anticipation note,
No, we're
Just in general.
We're talking about the public
Right,
meeting
any
schedule.
meeting
in
schedule.
general.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, I so move.
All right, so Mr. Lillicrop, you're making an amended motion to add that provision to allow for council voting at agenda meetings, correct?
Where warranted and advised by the borough solicitor.
All right. Is there a second to the amended motion?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any noes? That motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Lloydcraft, anything else?
I have nothing else, Mr. President.
Just one other item that has to do with scheduling also is, remember Monday we had talked about scheduling the final adoption for the budget?
Yes.
And I mentioned the 19th, and if everybody was okay with that, we can go ahead with advertising for Thursday, correct? Thursday, December 19th at 7 o'clock.
Does anybody have any concern with that date?
Say again?
December
Thursday.
19th.
December 19th. December 19th, 7 o'clock for the final adoption.
Oh, okay.
Next Thursday. Yep.
All right, if everybody's all right with that, do we have a motion, or do we not have a motion?
It was just motion to advertise December 19th as a
Okay.
meeting.
So we're looking for a motion to advertise December 19th as a special council meeting for adoption of the 2020 budget. Mr. Lloydcraft made that motion. Is there a second? Any questions on the motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any noes? Motion carries. Okay, we will go on to public safety. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I will start with the fire chief's report for the month of November. The company responded to 21 incidences in the month, responded by 94 members, and was in service for 6 hours and 10 minutes, for a total of 30 hours, 52 minutes of man hours. High response was 10 members, with an average response of 5. Those calls consisted of 7 gas leaks, 1 carbon monoxide alarm, 2 building fires, 1 EMS assist, and 1 investigation. The company also had 4 assists to Swarthmore, 1 assist to Springfield, 1 assist to Garden City, and 1 assist to Brookhaven. The company held 1 duty engine assignment staffed by 9 members for an 8 hours and for a total of 36 man hours. The company also held 2 tag day details staffed by 11 members, 33 man hours. The company held 3 training drills attended by 17 members, 32 and a half man hours. The company participated in the Christmas parade in Brookhaven, staffed by 3 members at 7.5 hours. The company covered and completed various station maintenance, clerical activities, staffed by 9 members for 14 hours. No properties were endangered or lost during this period. Respectfully submitted, Glenn Pittman, Deputy Fire Chief. And Captain Jack Peterson will have
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Just want to update everyone. As you all know, Captain Malinowski passed away last week. It was a sudden heart attack. It is being looked at as a line of duty death from the state, which will provide much needed benefits for his family with his loss. The services this weekend, Friday evening is a private viewing for the family and the fire company only. Saturday will be, the formal viewing will be at OLPH Church, starting at 9:30 in the morning, will last till 11:45. And then at 12 o'clock is the mass that will be celebrated for him. And then we will be doing the final call outside the church, which is a fire company tradition for a deceased member. And then we will do a procession past the station afterwards and returning him back to the funeral home for cremation. And we'll have a private interment at a future date. The company will be going out of service Friday night. We will have basic coverage Friday evening. We're starting at 6 a.m. on Saturday. We're having breakfast for everybody to finish whatever details we need to do. Then we're going to prepare to leave. We should leave the station by 7:30, head over to the funeral home where we will load him onto the fire truck and bring him over to OLPH. And then for the day. We will have cover companies in-house from 6 a.m. till midnight. We have two trucks coming in from Chester County and I think 2 coming in from other various spots of the county. I'm not exactly sure who's doing the covers. We'll have coverage from 6 a.m. till midnight Saturday, and then we'll be back in service probably around noonish on Sunday. But we have coverage with all the local companies coming in and participating. So, we're in the process of setting up some bank accounts for the family for charitable donations. And as soon as we have that info, we will definitely get it out to everybody. So anybody that wishes to contribute to the family may do so. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I understand the governor announced today that the whole state is flying the flag at half-mast.
Yes. Yes, the governor did announce that today. We're expecting him to reach out to Melissa, Mike's wife, to express his personal condolences sometime this week. But yes, the governor did acknowledge it. And again, we've been, Jen's been working with us. We've had various representatives from the county, Memorial Committee, Emergency Systems, and then we've also been in touch with the State Fire Commissioner and various people at the state level. So it's been a very busy week for us. Yes?
I'm sure word got back to you, but just in case it didn't, the Delaware County Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 27, and IBW Local 654 is going to donate the Christmas presents for Melissa and the kids. So if you could just help get that list together as soon as possible.
Which list is that?
Presents, whatever the kids need or want.
Okay.
Josephina the third is helping me as well, but I'm being hounded to get the list so they can start shopping.
I was informed that this was going to happen, but I didn't know you needed a list. I'll make sure we get with Melissa this evening and have her start
Before I
working
leave, I'll
on it.
give you my cell phone and email.
I'm sorry?
Before I leave, I'll give you my cell phone and email as well.
Very good.
And they offered to bring the presents over with Santa on the 23rd or the 24th if Melissa wants that.
Okay. Let me work on her with that.
I don't want to bombard her with too much.
Yeah, she's actually starting to return to some normalcy right now, but I'm sure this weekend's gonna be an awful lot on her again, so. But we'll work on that, and we'll see what she wishes to do.
And anything else we can do, just let us know.
Absolutely, thank you.
If I might add in, those children go to Springfield schools?
He has one child that goes to Springfield schools right now. He has 3 that live in Jersey.
Okay.
And then,
Well, because the school district does a lot
Yeah.
in these circumstances too. So I think coordination, the chief knows who to contact over there, whatever grade that child's in. And of course, our school board members here too, and there's a couple people, and Mr. Mooney can probably help. But just to see, because the school district will help out too, I'm sure that child is on their list of, there's a lot they do in these circumstances.
Awesome.
So if there's something special to ask for assistance or food assistance and that sort of thing, they'd be more than happy, I'm sure.
Appreciate it, thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure she has all that info. And
Well, let us know, we'll just take care of it. So she
Absolutely.
doesn't have to worry about it.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm sure that finding that everyone wants to do something to help, because Mike dedicated his life to helping people. And I understand from talking to the fire company, he was always the first one to call anyone at the fire company who needed help also.
Yes.
So now it's time for us to help.
Well, we appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, the borough is available, to help with anything, and particularly, we would like to do whatever we can to make sure the processes for handling the family's case for the line of duty benefits is expedited, and I'm sure that I speak for Representative O'Mara and Senator Carney as well, so please keep everyone apprised of.
Most certainly will. And again, anything we need, we'll definitely reach out, and we'll keep you abreast of all the details as we come across them. The only thing I may need to ask for is a little bit of advice from the solicitor concerning some of these accounts that we need to set up because of the fact that there's children in 2 different states, and, we're gonna have some contention, so we may need some advice on how to get somebody to manage the account once we get it set up for the children. But I'll get with you on that, and appreciate it, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And our condolences. I will highlight some of the double-digit incidences for the police department for the month of November. There were 15 suspicious persons in all those circumstances, 12 domestic disturbances, 22 medical emergencies, 16 traffic and parking problems, 21 traffic enforcement warnings, 17 assisting other agencies, and 27 traffic citations. All told, there was 216 citations and reports for the month of November. Chief LaSpinner, if you have anything else you want to add to the report?
No, other than obviously tonight we sworn a new officer, and after the first of the year, probably going to like to hire 2 more to replace the 2 that we lost.
Okay.
Otherwise, the scams are high right now because of the holidays, so everybody beware.
I think that was it.
All right. I was just going to suggest that we mention what was discussed at the budget meeting as to where well, I guess we can't really formalize that until, wait till we, all right, we'll hold that for the 19th, so there'll be discussion of the changes to the police budget as well as the Parks and Recreation budget, a lot of changes to the budget. So we'll go on to public health, sanitation, and recycling. Mrs. Roberts, please.
Yes, good evening. I'd just like to make a report regarding public services for the trash and solid waste pickup for November, being November 1st to November 30th. There were 8 pickups and the total tonnage was 78.90. As far as the recycling, I have no report from B&L, so I will make that report next month concerning the follow-up on that. Also, I just want to encourage the residents to know that the 18th of this month is the final quarterly sewer bill, so that everyone will be on target for that bill payment. So I just ask that you all be prepared so you don't get caught with the 10% penalty. Also, just like to report that containers are still available for residents. We have maybe less than 100, so we would encourage residents, if you need a container, please come to the borough and pick up your container. And I believe that ends my report. I just have one question, and that's to the administration. I'm not sure if any residents may have contacted you in regards to lids.
Top three.
Three? Okay. All right, so I want to work on that possibly, because I have that as a line item in my budget for recycling. So I hope to be able to propose a certain dollar amount to go out and start getting those to lids. Okay, thank you.
And I just want to make the recommendation that, that council, as early as possible next year, convene the recycling committee to discuss strategy for the bid process that's going to come up for recycling, because we know there is going to definitely be some major changes in cost and service structures. We've been fortunate to have been under the same contract the last 4 years, and the markets have changed drastically in that time. So I just think, you know, if we want to continue with our successful recycling program, the committee should look at, you know, what the likely options are going to be prior to bidding that. So I would suggest the committee meet as early as possible next year.
Okay. Take that under advisement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Law and ordinance, Mr. Ewald, do you have anything at this time?
No.
Okay, does anybody else have anything on law and ordinance?
Just the one thing, I forwarded it to the Borough Secretary, that pertaining to our code inspection, that transfer. I didn't know if Mr. Ewald had a chance to look if we were in compliance with the new, the changes that are made at the state.
So, there's nothing in the borough code, I think, that conflicts with that, and it's just a matter of the code department appropriately enforcing it.
Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else on law and ordinance, we'll go to community and economic development. Mr. McGrath, please.
Thank you. Mr. Poole, could you fill us in on the 2020 CDBG hearing?
I missed the G.
Is that a D?
CDBG,
That's what I wondered.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out if this is a new organization.
No. So as we discussed last week, part of the annual application process is that council must hold a public hearing just to solicit any kind of community input for any grant applications that they may be going for, or any ideas that they want to provide from the public. And as I discussed briefly last week, according to the county planning, that the revised HUD eligibility guidelines makes us ineligible for most of the activities that we were eligible before. But one of the things that I think, you know, as we talked about last week, one of the things that we are lacking in right now is that we do have two very old plans, comprehensive plan and our zoning plan. So I think that's what we really should push for this year, is to go after those planning activities, because again, planning activities are a separate pool of money. So I think that we're in a pretty good place, because both of those are very old and we need to get those updated, especially if we want to move ahead with a lot of the things that we've been talking about just over the last year. So again, this is that part of that formal process where council then holds a public hearing just to solicit any input from the community. We'll take that back, and then we would have a resolution, I would guess probably for whatever the first meeting in January would be, as far as priority listing for those projects.
What's the deadline?
The 9th, I believe it is.
So it'd have to be at the agenda meeting?
Yeah, that's why I
the
just...
reorganization meeting?
Right.
And were you proposing to have the hearing now or at that meeting?
The hearing now, but then there will be a resolution then with the priority, because you have to prioritize any of the activities before you submit this. So this would be the hearing.
Mr. Poole, the comprehension planning and the zoning planning, do these also take in consideration with the Morton Connects any of those ideas? Would
Well,
they-
let's put it this way, I mean, we've actually built all of those things off of those old plans. So the idea is we would be updating those to get us to where we need to be now, which should put us in a very good place to be going out again for other things such as the Morton Connects. And we're actually in the DVRPC study right now with the safe routes to transportation, which both of those were based on the fact of those, and in fact, even, what was it, the Growing Greener? That application was very much a part of the 2003 comprehensive plan.
I guess where I'm going at it with this is that, I mean, I think it would be to our advantage to go forward with it. But as we look around the neighboring communities, we see that there's so many different things that have enhanced Springfield, Swarthmore, right here in Sea Canyon. It's just, I always wonder, how come we never get anything to enhance our community?
Well, that's where it puts you is because, I mean, again, just to kind of simplify it, especially with the comprehensive plan, what you're getting is, you're getting an idea of where you are right now, plus you're getting comments from the county as to, you know, where you can go, what you should be going for, and then even plans to head that way. So it puts you in a very good place, right?
Thank you.
And that incorporates everything involved with the borough. It's not just specific things, it's a general overall.
Before we go on to the hearing, I just wanted to get clarification. Were we able to get any clarification on whether we have the ability to appeal the eligibility of the borough for the regular CDBG funds?
Not yet, we're looking into it, but we haven't done an answer yet.
All right, so at this time, I believe we want to open a public hearing.
At this time, you'd open a hearing asking for any members of the public that want to comment on what they believe the borough should pursue for the CDBG funding. Does anybody wish to address the council?
So, you want me up there?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, Jacqueline Guy, 635B Country Lane, Morton. So if I understand this correctly now, this is going to be for, is it Parks and Recreation, or is the funding a general fund for just improvements in the borough itself? Is that correct?
Bob, do you have the application?
I don't have it in front of me, no.
Are you able to summarize what we're eligible for? Or
Under the grant program, there's a whole multitude of categories you fit in. The only category that Morton Borough now falls under will be planning activities. So what Mr. Poole is proposing is we have a comprehensive plan which looks at a lot of facets of the borough. You know, the parks, the open space, transportation, land use, look at all those facets. Our comprehensive plan is outdated. You're supposed to do them every 10 years. I believe ours is approaching 20 years, a little longer than that. So I think he's proposing that we consider applying for an update to that comprehensive plan. And the same thing with the zoning ordinance, it dictates how our redevelopments can take place, and that also is outdated.
So I think that one thing is when you go down into the business district of Morton, I could see, one of the things I think is a problem there is that there's not enough parking. You have a few of the, you know, the slots, but then you have the lots that, one is a SEPTA lot, one is a lot that I think the restaurant rents.
We have a municipal lot.
Right, okay. So,
which has been changed, that, we don't ticket now after a certain time.
I did see that, after 6.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.,
Right.
12 hours.
Right. So, I could just see more, maybe better lighting down in that area. It's kind of dark at night. Street signs would be good, because sometimes it's hard to see the street signs in that area. And I'm just thinking bringing business into Morton proper. That might be a good use of some of that funds, is just to help enhance the business district, draw more business in. We have a few stores that have been closed for a while now on that row, on Morton Ave. So I think that would be, you know, a good way possibly to even advertise that we have places for businesses to come in. So I don't know if that would be part of the money that could be used for.
Well, just to let you know, and I kind of harp back on what I said before, we have a study that we're doing right now
Okay.
with Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission.
Mhm.
And it's basically a safe routes to transportation, which would be the train station, but
Yeah.
it's taking in everything, including the business district, the parking, and everything. So we've just started that
Okay.
process, but that would all be
Yeah.
included. And it's kind of the same thing we talked about with the comprehensive plan. We'll get a plan together, but what they'll do is, they'll lay out specifically at
Okay.
the end what we need to do and kind of put us again in a good place to go out looking for money to do those
Okay.
things.
I would definitely say crosswalks in that area too, because like, somebody keeps turning the light. I know that sounds weird, but somebody keeps turning the traffic light, so it'll be green on one side and red on the other, and you don't know what's happening, and,
South Morton Avenue is actually a PennDOT road.
okay.
Who knew? But that is part of this comprehensive plan, part of the
Okay.
study that's involved. It is with crosswalks and that overall.
How about the turning, I've always wondered why we don't have a turning lane off of 420 onto Morton Ave, because it really backs up there when you're coming.
Well, it's not wide enough.
Well, no, we have, but we do have a turning lane when the,
Actually, it's not legal.
it's,
There just isn't a sign there.
is that why? Because I mean, you do have a turning lane, but there's no light for the turning lane is what I'm, no, I'm,
Southbound.
yeah, I'm talking off of 420 to make the left onto Morton Ave. There's a left turning lane and then you go forward. But that left lane, there's a light, but the light is only, the arrow only operates when the train tracks, when the train's on the tracks. So who would that be part of the study to see? Because sometimes you'll sit there for 4 or 5 rotations of the light and a lot of people are running the red light. And there's a lot of near misses.
That was discussed.
That's being looked at. That's, right.
I'm sorry?
As you were saying, that's one of the recommendations.
Okay,
That's being
good.
looked at as part of the study.
Yeah, okay, that's all I have. I was just,
Jackie, if I could
yes,
chime in also. One of my projects I'm working on this year is to get a business association started in Morton. And so I've been talking to a lot of the business owners, Bill's one, who would like to do that. And that would help us greatly because business association would want to improve
Yes.
the district to get more stores to come, to bring more people in. So we're going to be starting that in the new year, and that'll be a business association in Morton, once it's organized. We're trying to get that started to help us out also.
yeah, I think that'll be great. Because I think there's a lot more that can be done in that area than what there is. Because at nighttime, it's pretty much, nobody's there. So I think if we could do some of those things, it would definitely bring some more life into the area.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, I would just like to, has there been any movement on the stop sign at Mitchell and Morton?
Yes, I have an update on that. So, well, yes.
Can we just hold
Sure.
that until we finish the
Sure.
hearing on CDBG?
That's fine.
Oh, wanted me to bring that back. I thought it was going to be part of the overall plan. Well,
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be looked at, I mean, it is being looked at as part of it. With PennDOT, just to let you know, with PennDOT being a part of that process, in fact, we had 3 representatives from PennDOT at that initial meeting, so that was very encouraging.
yeah, let's, we're in the community, so, bring that up during old business, please.
So is there anyone else in the public that would like to give some input?
Mrs. Lloyd?
Rodina Lloyd, 406 School Street. Speaking, just to piggyback off of Ms. Jacqueline, is there a way, I guess, for the district business, I see in other townships or boroughs, they have like their business district or some part of their borough decorated during certain times, like I guess Veterans Day, you'll see different people whose families have put in for them to, have their faces on like a certain pole, or Christmas time, like a snowflake that lights up on that area, or just different things to like make the downtown pop.
You're too young to remember when that did happen.
No, I do remember that. That's why I'm asking, like, what happened?
It's a sleepy town.
Right.
Rodina, if I could say, if we can get the business association up and running, that is one organization that would want to do that.
Okay.
Those kind of things.
I'll take part in it.
We'll see what happens in the future.
Okay.
But good point.
Thank you.
I just want to say that, yeah, this has to do with this, I guess. No, it doesn't. We should finish the hearing, I'm sorry.
So I just want to make a couple comments. With regard to the traffic and parking improvements, we've been going through borough files that were stored under the stage for about the last 25 years, and they actually go back 100 years in some cases, but found some interesting documents, and one of them that I found last week is a plan from SEPTA with plans for additional parking from the late 70s, I believe, that had not, around the train station area, that had never come to fruition. So I actually have it flagged in the closet here, and I'll give that to you, Mr. Poole, to make some copies of. And I would suggest SEPTA's going through a transition themselves. They have a incoming managing director who's the former transportation director for the state of Pennsylvania. Leslie Richards, very accomplished, and I know is very in tune with the transportation needs of municipalities as well. So I would suggest, once she gets settled, council, see if we can, through our representatives, get a meeting with SEPTA, ideally with the general manager and the engineering staff, and bring up some of these things, that have been on paper for many years but haven't come to fruition, and make the case that, which I think is a case we can clearly make. We, as I understand it, are the station with the highest number of patrons on a daily basis of the entire Media Elwyn line, and we have people coming from a lot of communities, and of course we've got all the roads converging at the station as well. So I think we can make the case that we need some more attention from SEPTA and need their full cooperation. I know they are working with us and have with the past study on transportation, but try and get commitments from them to have some of these parking and transportation, public transportation coordination initiatives on their capital plans as well. So
That may also involve dealing with Media Real Estate, who actually owns the Boeing complex.
if that's the property in question, yeah, but I think there's a few different locations that are mentioned there. But the second thing I was going to say, I'm fully, in favor of going for the planning money for the comprehensive plan and the zoning plan. As I said last week, our plans are getting quite out of date, and it's something we've discussed the last few years. We've been successful in getting bricks and mortar money the last 2 years, fortunately, and I would, my recommendation to the incoming council would be to consider going for the planning money to get those things up to date, because they will lead to opportunities for additional bricks and mortar funding, particularly for transportation improvements. But with that said, and notwithstanding that, I would also highly recommend that council does, pursue the determination as to whether there is an appeal process as to Morton's eligibility for the bricks and mortar CDBG fund, and pursue that appeal process if presuming it, and I assume there's got to be a process that is available to the borough to make that case if it's possible to make it. And I just am quite shocked that anything would have changed as far as Morton's demographic status over the last few years that would have caused our becoming ineligible for that funding. So I highly encourage council to pursue that to its logical conclusion. And if it's successful, great. If there's a legitimate reason why we're not eligible, let's find out what that is. And that's the end of my comments on the CDBG hearing.
I would agree with you that we can't, I mean, it makes sense to me that you can't do the zoning until you've had a comprehensive plan.
Well, to be clear, I'm suggesting that they be applied for concurrently, as we discussed in
Oh, I
the
thought
past.
there was a first and second choice there.
Well, that's what it would be. It would be the comp plan and then
Yeah.
zoning would be there.
Yeah, okay.
But both on the same application.
We've always put that on the same application because that was our secondary, but since we have no primary now, what I would do is I would split those, because the idea is, I think you're probably going to be funded for both, but you can put a good case forward for both of those.
I would suggest, I mean, I think, from what I understand, it's fairly common that those updates are done concurrently. I would suggest putting it in one application, because I don't think I don't think the zoning part of it is going to be a huge additional cost, and you probably get economies of scale from an engineering firm to do them concurrently. Mr. Catania, what's your experience with that?
I guess the first question would be, when we do a plan activity, would we hire a consultant or we would use county planning staff? That's the question they're gonna wanna know.
That's a good point.
The county planning staff is more than capable of doing the zoning, because I know they've done plenty of those comprehensive plan. I think they have the ability to do that. I'm not sure of the history of them completing comprehensive plans without outside consultants.
That was kind of my reasoning, the second, to pursue the one with the county, and then hopefully get the money to do the other outside.
Well, I would float the option of, if the county has the capability and the resources and wishes to do the comprehensive plan, I don't see why you wouldn't consider having them do that.
Oh, as well.
But as far as Mr. Catania separating the applications or putting them in together, what have you seen in the past?
I would put them in together. They'll always come back to you and ask if they feel it's inappropriate. They'll always come back to you and ask you which one's your priority. Just apply for one for planning, do both.
All right, is there any other comment on the CDBG hearing?
Well, when I read the comprehensive plan, I realized that there's, things have changed quite a bit, and I thought, it would be really nice if we were able to update that. I just wanted to say about the business community, a comment about that is that we have a very vibrant business community. It's not the same, it's not exactly the same as you might expect. The downtown is always a challenge. It's a traffic thing and stuff like that, which is sort of the way it's laid out. But that's really just a part of, it really is amazing, the different types of businesses, and high-tech businesses from that point of view, and classic businesses like building railroad things, and, making glasses and making components for insulin pumps and stuff like that. Plus, there's all the artisans that work on that work in the body shops. It really is a range of things. And if you look at it, most of the places are filled. There are a couple places here and there that go off, but as a matter of fact, I think Mr. Hefner had problems getting more property as he grows, because we're sort of running out of space. It just shows you how actually it's very, very healthy. We might not realize it because like I say, we're a sleepy town and we kind of just, sort of hide away and do our things, but it really is an amazing town for all the things we do here.
Yeah, there's well over 100 businesses. I think 110 businesses or so that are in Morton, and you wouldn't notice that.
Right, you'd be really surprised by the range of business in this town. Okay, so is anything else about?
We need to close if there's no other comment on the CDBG hearing. Mr. Ewell, do you want to close that hearing?
Yep. So at this time, we'll close the hearing, and we will, they're not going to do any votes tonight?
No, correct.
We'll take it back up in January.
In January.
On January 6th.
Okay then. Anybody have anything to say about community and economic development beyond what we've been discussing?
I have something.
Yes?
Can I go pick her up? Okay, here I am again, Jacqueline Guy. I was recently sworn in as the director, school board director from Morton. And as far as community, I had talked to Michelle Roberts about this. So last year we were given a grant, I'm not sure it was a grant, to have a mentoring and tutoring program in Morton. So I think that that can go as part maybe of this community development issue, because I was in a committee meeting about this last week, and once we get a liaison from the borough that can be, we want to bring the kids here to do the schooling, because we are not able to bus after school, and I'll talk about that in a second. And this way, I think, these are all going to be just Morton kids that are here. I've also found a few people that we might be able to partner with along the line of, mentoring as well. And I just wanted to bring up the fact that that might be, I think we're going to be redoing the playground as well here.
The tot lot.
The tot lot and things like that, but I think that the kids may be either in this room, depending on how many kids we have, or in the gym. It's just going to be depending. But I think that that can also, maybe we can also find monies if we need them as part of this community development to be able to supply the building with the proper things that we're going to need for the students as far as
That's
desks.
what's coming from that grant,
Okay, so all that's going to be coming from the grant.
my understanding.
Yeah, we're still, like I said, we're still working on how the grant's going to work, because we want to make a fund so that we can continue to use this grant for, years to come.
That's a school district issue. I don't know if it's really necessarily from how Shelley and I have been involved with it from the beginning of it.
Right.
If it's really coming from the borough. I mean, we were willing to give them the space.
Yeah, the space, and like I said, we just need a liaison.
Well, yeah, now
to
they
be
say they
there,
want a
yeah.
liaison. That's a different thing.
And then I also had been questioning, during my campaign, I had had parents approach me and ask why we can't do late busing into the borough. And from what I've learned, Pennsylvania mandates that if you bus one, you bus all. And our school district, everybody within Springfield can be bused up to 10 miles away. Private schools, parochial schools, all of that. So if we bring a late bus in for Morton, we would have to do late busing for everyone. And this is one of our unfunded mandates. So we have situations where the state mandates we do things, but the state doesn't give us the funds to do them. So that's one of the reasons right now we're not able to provide the late busing, and that's why we're going to be bringing the kids home first to do the tutoring here. And I will definitely keep everyone informed as we go along, and on that and other issues as far as the school board goes.
Are the junior high, or I'm not sure what buses stop right here in the corner, and why couldn't the children just get on a bus that would bring them here?
It's a little complicated to do that because so here's what happens.
Well, we don't need to go into details, it's just a suggestion. But that's a later discussion. But
Okay.
that's just one
Yeah, but
of
I mean, they are here. So I'm confused as to what you mean by, they're going to be coming in home and then they're going to come here.
Well, it just means there's a school bus stop across the street.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, well, that's all
That's
logistics.
a later
We'll talk about
discussion. That
that.
isn't really part of this,
Right.
this thing right now.
But, so
We'll
that's,
make a note of it.
I will be giving regular updates. We have our meetings at the last week of the month for the school board meeting, and I am on the education and finance committees. So as I will be coming back to the borough to give those, to let everybody, keep everybody informed, let everybody know what's happening. Okay? And that's all. That's all I wanted to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McGrath, anything else?
I'm afraid to ask. I thought we were just gonna zoom through this one little line on here, in 20 minutes. Okay, anybody else have anything to say about community development in our wonderful town? Okay, that's it for me then, thank you very much.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This year, we are moving forward on our grant project, which should finish up this summer. That includes the T-ball Tot Lot and Sycamore Woods. Also this coming year, we're looking to extend the parking on Harding Avenue at Jacobs Park, and also to improve the ball field on the upper level of Jacobs Park. So there are two main projects we're looking at this year. Let me see what else here. Our next meeting will be March the 2nd, and I mentioned this last week at our meeting, and I want to get the word out to as many people as I can. I'll be promoting this. The Great Leap Year Cake Contest and Sale. So we're going to be asking everyone to bake some cakes and bring them up, and people come and buy the cakes, and we'll have the contest and everything like that. So that's all I have to report on right now, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. All right, planning, so we have a land development subdivision plan on the docket, and I will turn it over to Mr. Ewald to let us know what action needs to be taken with that at this point.
So there's no action for tonight. This has been in front of your planning commission once. With the deadlines of the municipality's planning code, you will have to take action on it in January unless the applicant asks for an extension or approves an extension. So today, or yesterday, we received a report from the alternate engineer on it, and that's been forwarded on to the owner. We are awaiting any responses to our engineering reports to them, from them. We haven't received anything from them at all since the application, right?
Just emails back and forth.
Yeah.
They're supposed to stop in, but I haven't seen them yet.
So at this point, it's on the docket to be, to have a meeting on it in January and make a decision pending any potential extensions to that.
Any questions on that? I would recommend all members of council read the alternate engineer report. They indicated there are a number of items to be clarified, particularly regarding impervious covers and stormwater management, and I think they were suggesting that some adjustments need to be made to calculations that were used to determine the plan for stormwater management. Of course, given the issues that we have discussed extensively around stormwater management, it's very important that we make sure that development does not add to those problems. So I would just suggest to council that they keep a close eye and make sure those items are resolved to the alternate engineer's satisfaction before approving any plan to make sure that that happens, that the system will actually work to not cause any additional burden of stormwater coming from this redevelopment.
Mario, may I ask you, with the Eastern Delaware County Collaborative about stormwater management, how do we deal with that, seeing that part of that property is on Ridley and not just in Morton?
Do they have to approve the subdivision plan for their small part of the property as well?
Right.
Right.
It's pending before both.
So, I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's something I can bring up at the next meeting with them, to ask Jamie Anderson to come over and look at it, or, if there's something you think that they should look at, to make some suggestions or whatever.
It would really be
I mean, no, it's a municipality.
making the Ridley commissioners aware of the concerns that our engineer brought up. I'm not sure where they are with their approval process, but I don't know if they're waiting for Morton to complete our process before going before Ridley, or.
Ridley has completed their process.
They do.
Yeah, we've completed it before, but, we had this last minute coming in from the Auburn engineer, so then we're going to have to go back and do some things over.
You see Ridley already?
Ridley got the same comments that we got from the county.
But have they haven't ruled or made a decision yet, right?
I'm not aware of
So it may make sense just to forward our alternate engineer's report to the Ridley Township manager, so that they have it under advisement. Okay. Any other questions, comments on that item? Nothing else on planning?
No.
All right, on zoning, we have a zoning application received today regarding 24 Pennington. That's the former Republican Club property. Mr. Ewald, can you describe that application?
I've only had the opportunity to peruse it from, the minutes that I was here before the meeting. I just received it, but it's a request to put to convert the Republican Club property into a church. There's a request for variances from parking, and a request to make it clear that the use is permitted, and asking that some existing nonconformities for the maximum building height and setback requirements and be recognized as pre-existing nonconformities. So we'll have a chance to review it a little bit closer after the meeting today, and then in the January meeting, I guess we can present it to the council and see if they want to have any input at the zoning board.
Did they purchase the property?
It's not clear if they've
They
purchased
made
it
an
yet.
offer subject to the zoning.
Oh, okay.
Agreement of sale on it. I think they have agreement of sale.
They did.
Yeah, I don't think that was
There
attached
is an
though. I
agreement
only
of
saw the
sale?
deeds from
Yeah,
the
they-
tax sale. But
Subject to.
All right, any questions or comments on that item? So, there would have to be what was, you may have already mentioned the date, that there would have to be a zoning hearing.
we don't have a date yet. It just literally came in this afternoon.
But we have how many days, or the zoning board has how many days? to respond?
We have 60 days to start the hearings.
I'm sorry. Are there any outstanding issues with that property? Like taxes,
Violation?
code violation or anything like that? We had some problems in the past, I'm not sure if they're cleared up.
Yeah,
I want to look at that.
we'd have to check, but yeah.
Straight pants.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, we'll go to old business. Any old business from members of council?
Old business pertaining to Providence Avenue on the Pico. Mr. Poole, have you been advised of anything for us to get smelling?
Oh, yeah, they're out there.
Okay.
Yeah, they're actually out there. So they've started the project, they're on Providence Road, I think at the corner of West right now. So at least they've started that, so.
And actually, I found a file on that gas line. I think the line dates from about 1950. So that line's about 70 years old.
They mentioned that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's about time for some upgrades.
Yep.
And Pico was up on Fairhill today, trimming trees. Or Asplin, I should say, was there for Pico. As they were supposed to be doing that around the community all this month.
Right, Mayor App and Mr. Miller, you wanted to talk about the crosswalks at the stop sign at Morton and Mitchell.
Yeah, just how that was progressing. I know it was in the works, and we were waiting on the response from the state.
Yeah, I reached out to Senator Kearney's office to ask them to get in touch with PennDOT to help move the project along, and why it was not doing that at this time. So I did get new information this week of why PennDOT has not started the project. They say it's on hold. So I'll be working with the engineer and Mr. Poole to see if we can get that project started, if we can do what PennDOT says needs to be done.
And just as a, I guess, a little side note to that, as part of our kickoff meeting for the Safe Routes to Transportation, PennDOT was there, that was discussed, and I know the representative from DVRPC was going to reach out to PennDOT to find out where they're, so I'll reach out to him to see if he's gotten any additional information. that was part of that discussion too, so.
Yeah, they were out there several weeks ago and surveyed it.
It's a real log jam anymore.
That's a mess.
With the school there and school cross, it's not a good situation.
Any other old business? New business from member of the council? There's no other new business. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege at this point and just make some remarks. First of all, I want to thank the mayor and the senator and the representative for their very kind recognition of my work over the past 12 years, and it's always very heartening to to realize that it's had impact, and thank you for recognizing that. So I just want to give several acknowledgments. I'm going to start with my parents. My mother, Pat Cimino, my father, Sam Cimino, are in the audience here, and I can say, that my interest and dedication to community service, was instilled by them, and most of you, my mother from Election Day, she's served on the election board for many years now. Also serves on the board of the League of Women Voters of Delaware County. They, of course, are very busy right now working on making sure the county is ready for our new voting system next year, as well as the election boards, being up to speed for that for next year. So, and also many years ago, under Reverend Battle, the first council president, when I was on council, drafted my mother, surprisingly I think to her, but one day to serve on the Cable and Community, reconstituted at the time Cable and Communications Committee, and she served on that committee with Mr. McGrath and others since then. So the committee had been not very active for many years, and as everybody knows, there's been a lot of good things done by that committee over the last several years as far as making our contracts more amenable for the borough and its residents, as well as improving communications across the borough. As far as my father goes, my father was president of first the Conquerville Lodge of the Sons of Italy, and then the Chester Lodge of the Sons of Italy for many years, and now they are known as the Sons of and Daughters of Italy, correct? As well as being involved, I think, in every dental organization in the region, and most of the retired the military veterans organizations in the area as well, and on the board of my father's on the board of Harcum, and was instrumental. Most of us probably don't realize, but in the late 80s there was a major shortage of dental hygienists in the region, and not enough places to train them, and Harcum College, with the work of my father and several other dentists in the region, helped start that dental hygiene school, and he continues to serve on the board and work with the hygiene students in their clinics as well. So I just wanted to give everybody some idea, the example I've had, with how community service works and how you can give back to your community. I also want to recognize the many people in the community that in some cases, many years longer than I have worked for the betterment of the borough. And I actually want to start off recognizing Mr. Lillicrap for pretty much a half century of dedication to the borough, and in several stints now on borough council over a number of years, and a couple political parties, I believe, in that time. Most of you, I think, know, Mr. Lillycrap and I, in some ways and on some things, are a bit of nemesis, but I can say, I think Mr. Lillycrap will agree that we share a strong penchant up to this week's budget meeting for fiscal management and fiscal responsibility. Mr. Lillycrap was my immediate predecessor as finance chair, and I learned a lot from him, and now on this state council, he continues to be a champion of fiscal responsibility to make sure this borough is well managed financially, given the major challenges, including unfunded mandates from the state and other insurance costs and things like that, that probably are the hardest thing that municipalities, especially of our size, face these days. So I really appreciate Mr. Lillycrap's mentoring and support on those issues in particular, and I hope he will continue as I will warn council, I will as well, to push for good fiscal management of the borough going forward. So I also want to recognize the others that I've served with on council over the years. Council President D. Giardina, my immediate predecessor, Mr. Albert Lockley, who served many years on council, and before that as Justice of the Peace, Mr. George Dickerson, who had a couple stints on council as well as being a former council president himself, Sheldon Blunt, Mayor Pacelli, Mayor Blunt, and then I also want to recognize the several borough officials that are no longer with us, particularly Reverend Edward Battle, Mayor Phil Costa, Mr. Phil Del Vecchio, and also another friend and mentor of mine, Mr. Jerry Connolly, who served as mayor, and as well as for many years after having moved out of the borough, continued to be a dedicated member and officer of our fire company. I want to recognize both the dedicated members of the fire company and all that they do for the community, especially Chief Holstein and President Breslin and all their colleagues, and again recognizing the risk that they take and the importance of their service in light of the tragic loss of Captain Malinowski from the last week. I also want to give thanks to our police department and the excellent job with remaking that department that Chief Cimino has undertaken in the last several years with the able support of Sergeant Brodstein and all the other members of the police force, and the work that they do on a day in and day out basis to keep us safe and make our community better. And I'd like to recognize Mayor App's support for that as well. And I will mention, also the many years of service of Chief Barnier, Chief Espino's predecessor, who I worked with for several years prior. One of the major accomplishments in my time as council president was bringing Morton into a modern borough management system and Mr. Poole has come in and done an excellent job of taking up the reins on that and running with it. And Mrs. Preston, of course, now I believe has over 20-plus years of service to the borough as borough secretary and continues to do great work. And it's been a pleasure working with both her and Mr. Poole over these years. And also with William and Glenn Johnson on Public Works, Mr. Ewald as solicitor, Mr. Catania has done good work over many years as engineer. And as far as council goes, you know, just want to recognize all my current colleagues. Mrs. Roberts as former vice president, and Mrs. Miller as current vice president, and Mr. McGrath, and Mr. Willie Crap again. And unfortunately, recently, Mrs. Young and her, we worked for 2 years. Unfortunately, she had to move out of the borough. We will miss her. And I want to welcome back Mr. Boylan, who preceded me on council for several years and will be coming back, and I believe will, you know, bring his excellent expertise, particularly on finances, to the council over the next several years. And glad to see him coming back to help with that effort, and as well as Hailey Hodnett, our other member-elect. And
Mr. Miller.
I'm sorry, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Millers.
Mr. Miller for his last 4 years, and now coming into his second term. And his work on public safety with the mayor and the chief.
Well, you need to step down here for a minute. Bring your hat. Bring your hat.
Where am I going? I'm not done
If you're not done your report.
I'm not done my remarks.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I'm almost done. You know, I talked about, you know, the fiscal management, you know, the modernizing the management structure, and the communications. I'm very excited with the funding that we have lined up. And you know, I'm not going anywhere. I hope to be a part of some of these exciting initiatives going forward. I'm interested in helping, if I can, with the Parks and Recreation efforts to revitalize our parks, and I will also be happy to help with the recycling efforts if that would be helpful. And so I think, you know, bottom line, we have done a lot to improve our infrastructure and improve our management, and I think, you know, with all your help, we've really brought Morton well into the 21st century now, and laid a groundwork for years to come. So I thank everybody for your help with that.
We're almost done.
We're not quite, we're not done with it.
So on behalf of all of us here today, and Mrs. Young too, who cannot be here with us, and other people that have been on council, Moon, Carrie Ann, and Mrs. Dickerson and all, been a mentor to all of us, even though you are one of, by far, the youngest people on this board.
Well, I wasn't until recently.
I've appreciated your friendship personally. We've attended some family things together, been to your parents' anniversary at my daughter's wedding. You know, we've all learned a lot, and you have a great future ahead of you. Taught us all so much. So we'd like to present you with this little plaque here, which I think is pretty gorgeous. Thank you, Mayor Rapp, for putting this together. So, from dedicated service award to Mario Cimino for his 12 years of Borough Council, 8 of which were president. Morton Borough Council, December 11th, 2019.
Thank you.
And you use the V word, volunteering.
Mhm.
The big word that needs to be done around this town.
Yes.
You said you'd be back, so.
Yes,
You're being held to it.
Yes, I will be held to it. Thank you.
All I can say is that we'll have a tall hat to fill.
We're going to miss the top hat here on the podium, but I know that, like Mario stated, he is going to be involved. So that is very good for us. Thank you for everything you've done for our community.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Ewald.
Thank you. Is there any other new business?
I need a declaration first. I just want to say to Mr. Cimino, good job and Godspeed.
Thank you, Mr. Woodcock. And likewise to you.
Can I just make mention that this is also Mr. Lillycrap's last meeting? So just to recognize Mr. Lillycrap for, I guess, was it 5 months, 6 months this time? How long were you in? 5? 5.5. 5.5. So yes, but we wanted to thank him for his service again, for stepping up.
I'll make it 15 and a half years.
So it's got me appealing that count. And he, of course, is still on the hook as our CDC representative on the
Central Delaware County, yes.
the Central Delaware County Authority.
18 years on that.
Is there any other new business from members of council?
Yes, to just make mention, I'm not sure, to the administrative office. I know the Sharon's Bank is located in Springfield. There is a Sharon's Bank there.
Just to let you know, what they've done is, we've just gotten word from them as part of the tax anticipation note process. They did purchase the branch, I guess, I can't even think of what it's the
It's
last.
across from the senator's
Yeah, but what it was
office.
before, yeah, but, oh no, but there's also on Saxor Avenue.
Yeah,
They have a
that's
branch,
here.
but then what they've done is they moved their corporate offices from Darby over to,
Yes.
right, so that's just happened, is the corporate move,
Okay.
so.
Can I just say something? Just a short thing. So I think that I appreciate Mr. Lillycrap showing up and stepping up to the plate over the last few months. I think that we've really, just in that small amount of time, we've gotten the advantage of somebody that, a really committed citizen. And and I realized at the last budget meeting how nice it was to have an adult in the room. And as for Mr. Cimino, in this is the kind of thing where we like to look at traditions and things like that. And there's one tradition that Mr. Cimino attempted to start the night he was initially sworn in, which I regret didn't stick. And that was that he took us all over to the local watering hole and bought us drinks.
Oh, we have to take him.
We'll have to take him.
But we were gonna say that afterward.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other new business? All right, open discussion. Anybody wish to address council? Mr. Lee, please.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Michael Lee, 123 West Sylvan Avenue, Morton, Pennsylvania. First, I would like to express my own personal condolences to the family and friends of the fire captain, Michael Malinowski. I became acquainted with his family in the course of walking my dogs, and I know he's going to be missed by everyone who knew him. Second, I want to express my own appreciation to Mr. Cimino for his 12 years of service, and Mr. Lillycrap for his close to half a century of service. And in case anyone doesn't know it, over the course of years, when I would come home and I would take my dogs for a walk, and this would be late at night, more close, probably between 2:15 and 2:30 in the morning, sometime late at night, Mr. Cimino and I would encounter each other, and he was always encouraging me for years to come out to the borough council meetings, and he finally won. So for good or ill, you have Mr. Cimino to thank for me being here.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, you're quite welcome, and I do want to express, there was something else I do want to wish everyone, for those who celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, or any other festivity that I am not aware of, I wish everyone a happy and blessed one. And for those who don't celebrate, for whatever reason, I also wish them good tidings and blessings. Everyone, of course, for the remainder of 2019 and 2020, a very blessed and happy New Year. And that's all I have to say at the moment. So thank you all for listening. Good night. May God bless all of you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for open discussion? All right, seeing no one at this time, a few announcements. So just a reminder, although this is the last regular meeting for Mr. Lillycrap and I, we do have the special budget adoption meeting on December 19th. Everybody's welcome to join us for that at 7 o'clock, Thursday the 19th. And that will be the actual last meeting for both of us. I just want to remind everybody that council is accepting applications for the vacancy on Borough Council due to the resignation of Mrs. Young, as well as for tax collector due to the pending resignation of Mrs. Neal. So those applications are being accepted from any interested resident of the borough through close of business on Friday at the borough office here. Also, the borough office will be closed Tuesday, December 24th and Wednesday, December 25th for Christmas holidays. Are there any other announcements? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Happy holidays.
Thank you.